All right, everyone. Today we are going to be working on lesson 2 in booklet 6, that is writing a check. Now, this is an important lesson just for your day-to-day life. You will absolutely at some point need to write a check to somebody else. And unless you fill out the check correctly, it may not cash out appropriately when that person brings it to a bank. So here's an example of a check on the screen. You need to know what to write in where and everything that's happening on this slip of paper. Now, a check is a piece of paper, or rather, many pieces of papers for many checks that your bank will give you, and this is associated with your account. When you want to pay somebody or an institution a large amount of money, usually you use a check. Some common examples would be if you need to pay rent to your landlord. Say your rent is $800 a month, you would probably give them a check for $800 if you're not e-transferring them. Another very common reason you might use checks, if, for example, you need to make a payment for a wedding, congratulations, you're getting married next summer, you need to pay, a certain institution for the food that they're catering, you need to pay the venue. All of these are going to be amounts of money that are in the multi-thousands of dollars, right? And your bank might not let you e-transfer, say, $4,000 at a time, so you might need to use a check. Anyways, today we're going to go over how to fill that out. So here in front of me is a check. Let me just outline some of the major parts. This up here on the top left, when you get your own check, that's going to be your info. Okay, that's your name, that's your address, etc., etc. Now this down here where it says Math Aids Bank, that is going to be your bank info, namely your bank's address. Now, you will have a bunch of random numbers at the bottom. They're not random, but they're associated with your account. All right. This tells the bank where to pull the money from. Now, you don't need to change any of this, right? When you get a bank account and you order checks, all of that information will be on there for you. That being said, there are many other areas that you do need to fill in. So let's take a look. Checks need the following 6 things written on them. One is the date of the payment. Okay, that's obviously labeled with date at the top. Now, this example is on September 22nd, 2012. You pay for groceries from Zehrs with a check for $95.14. Now, it's not very common that you pay for groceries with a check, I'm going to be honest with you, but nonetheless, this is a good example to practice with. So the date is September 22nd. What is September? The ninth month of the year. So that's 09/22/2012. Check. Next is the name of the recipient of the payment. Now, this isn't entirely obvious right away, but pay to the order of, that's asking you for the payee or the recipient, the person who you're sending the money to. So that's where you're going to write Zehrs, which is who we're giving the money to. Okay. Next, you need to write the amount of the payment. I'm going to skip to number 4, and then I'm going to backtrack to 3. So number 4 is the amount of the payment in numbers. That is $95.14. You're going to fill that in, not next to the dollars down here, but next to the dollar sign up here, okay? That's where you write the amount in numbers. Now, just below, you need to write that amount again, but in words. All right, and the reason for that is just in case your penmanship is poor, there's no confusion about um, about how much money you're giving this person or this institution, right? So here would be 95 and 14. So it would look like this, and please be very specific. So 95 is our number of dollars. Now, when you get to the cents, you need to do the following. Write the word and then write your cent as a fraction. That is 14 out of 100. Right? 14 cents out of 100 cents, which would make the dollar. So in words, this is how you would write $95.14. Again, be very specific about that. Your cents are a fraction. Now, what you should do after you're done writing is you should just make a squiggly line or a straight line with any excess space that you have. You can do the same thing up here as well. And what that does is it stops people from editing what you've written, right? You don't want to leave space for somebody to come in later and add words to perhaps change the amount that they're getting from you. So leave no space for anybody to do that. Fill in any empty space with a line. Okay. Next is a memo explaining the purpose of the payment, right? So that's just down here where it says memo. And that's not obvious, right? If you were to just read memo, you might not know what it's asking, but it's asking for your reason. And our reason here is groceries. Good. And then finally is your signature. Okay? So, all in all, that is how you fill out a check. Let's do one more together, and then I'll give you time to practice. Now, this is a much more reasonable use of a check. On January 1st, 2013, you pay for rent from Hallman Properties with a check for $745.62. So the date is January 1st, beginning of the month, beginning of the year, actually. So that's 01/01/2013. Write that next to your date. Now remember, pay to the order of is the recipient. In this case, that is Hallman Properties. Okay? Try to avoid what I just did, right? I got lazy at the end and I started writing cursive. I'm going to rewrite that, but I'm going to make sure that I print the entire time so it's obvious who it's going to. It's easier to read. All right, the amount of dollars in numbers is $745.62. Again, do everything you can to be neat. If you have any excess space next to your dollars, just cover that in a line. And then we need to write this in words. So that is 745. Okay, so all of the dollars in one statement, 745. And then when you're ready for your cents, you write the word and then you write the cents as a fraction. And that fraction is always out of 100. Now, I used all my space, so I don't need a line, but if you didn't, remember, include a squiggly line. Okay, memo is our reason. Our reason is rent. And signature is just your own signature at the end. Okay? So that's it, right? It's nothing fancy, but it is a very, very essential skill to have, right? You need to know how to fill out a check. And if when you do need to fill out a check, it is many years from now, and you don't remember this lesson, at the very least, remember that it's just a quick Google search away, right? Just Google search filling in a check, and there's tons of examples with great descriptions on what you need to input where. Okay, take some time, fill out the next worksheet, and let me know if you have any questions.